The Vrexian warships hung in the darkness beyond Jupiter, like massive predators circling their prey. Commander Thaxvor stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the blue and green planet on his display screens. Earth. The humans called it Earth. It would be the 18th world to fall before the Vrexian Empire, and Thaxvor expected it to be the easiest conquest yet. His claws tapped against the command console as he reviewed the intelligence reports. The humans were divided into hundreds of separate nations. They fought wars against each other over resources, territory, and ideas. Their weapons were primitive chemical explosives and metal projectiles. They had barely touched their own moon, let alone ventured to the other planets in their system. Perfect prey, Thaxvor muttered to himself. His second officer approached, mandibles clicking with what passed for a smile among their species. Commander! The scout drones have completed their survey. The planet has abundant water, mineral resources, and a population of 8 billion. Standard extraction protocols will be highly profitable. Thaxvor nodded. The Vrexian way was efficient and proven. They found worlds on the edge of space exploration, struck before the inhabitants could unite, and harvested everything of value. 17 times this strategy had succeeded. 17 civilizations had fallen. Some fought back, but divided worlds always crumbled quickly. What is their military strength? Thaxvor asked. Negligible. They possess nuclear weapons but lack the delivery systems to threaten us in orbit. Their detection systems are primitive. We could destroy their major cities within hours, and they would surrender within days. The officer pulled up images of human military installations. They even fight each other regularly. In the last 100 years, they have engaged in over 100 armed conflicts. They waste resources, destroying their own kind. This was always the pattern. Species that fought themselves never developed the unity needed to resist a real threat from the stars. The Vrexians had learned this lesson well. It made conquest simple. Deploy the intimidation protocol, Thaxvor ordered. Let them see our power. Give them 1 day to surrender. The message was broadcast across every human communication channel. Radio, television, internet. The Vrexians hijacked them all. The message was simple and had been used 17 times before. Your world has been selected for resource extraction. Resistance means extinction. Surrender means survival. You have 24 hours to comply. To demonstrate their seriousness, Vrexian ships fired precision strikes on 3 uninhabited islands, vaporizing them completely. The message was clear. This is what happens to those who resist. Thaxvor leaned back in his command chair, satisfied. By this time tomorrow, the humans would be begging to negotiate terms of surrender. They always did, but something unexpected happened in the hours that followed. Deep beneath the Swiss Alps, in a facility that appeared on no maps, Dr. Hana Kang watched the Vrexian message play across multiple screens. Around her, men and women from 40 different nations worked at computer stations, their faces calm and focused. There was no panic here, no confusion, only quiet determination. Hana was 53 years old. She had spent the last 28 years of her life preparing for this exact moment. Her gray-streaked hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. Her white lab coat hung on a hook by the door. She wore a black military-style uniform now. The time for research had passed. The time for action had arrived. Confirm the alien ship's positions, she said quietly. Specialist Damon Park, a young man with sharp eyes and quick fingers, worked his computer console. Confirmed. 3 capital ships in high orbit, 16 smaller vessels in supporting positions. They match the configuration we predicted from the radio intercepts. Hana nodded. 70 years ago, humanity had detected strange patterns in radio signals from deep space. Patterns too regular to be natural. Scientists had debated what they meant, but some people understood immediately someone was out there. And they were communicating. More importantly, they were getting closer. Governments had quietly begun preparing. Not all governments, some refused to believe. but enough of them cooperated to begin the most secret project in human history. They called it Unified Earth Defense. Its mission was simple: prepare humanity for first contact, and assume that contact would not be peaceful. For 70 years, humans had been listening to alien communications, learning alien languages, and reverse engineering technology from 3 crashed alien probes that had been found on Earth. For 70 years, the brightest minds from dozens of nations had worked in secret, building weapons and ships and defense systems that officially did not exist. Every war humans had fought in those 70 years had served a dual purpose. Yes, they were tragic conflicts over earthly concerns, but they were also testing grounds. New weapons were field-tested, tactics were refined, soldiers were trained, and all of it was preparation for an enemy from beyond the stars. The world thought humanity was divided. That was exactly what humanity wanted the galaxy to think. Open a response channel, Hana ordered. Use their own frequency. Let me speak to them directly. Lieutenant Salman Bake, the communications officer, looked up with surprise. Director, we will be revealing that we know their language, that we have been listening. That is precisely the point, Hana replied. It is time to stop hiding. The channel opened. Hana looked into the camera, her expression calm and cold. When she spoke, it was in perfect Vrexian, a language Earth officially did not know existed. Attention Vrexian Armada. This is Director Hana Kang of Unified Earth Defense. We have received your ultimatum. We reject it completely. In orbit, aboard the Vrexian flagship, alarms began blaring. Thaxvor spun toward the communication station, his eyes wide with shock. The human was speaking Vrexian. Perfect, unaccented Vrexian. That was impossible. They were a primitive species. They should not even know the Vrexians existed, let alone speak their language, Hana continued. We know who you are. We know what you have done to 17 other worlds. We have been monitoring your empire's expansion for 70 Earth years. We have been preparing for your arrival. You believed we were divided. You believed we were primitive. You were wrong. She leaned forward slightly, her eyes hard. This is your only warning. Leave our solar system immediately. If you do not, you will discover why humanity has survived every threat our planet has thrown at us for 200,000 years. We are not prey. We are predators. And you have just made a terrible mistake. The transmission ended. Thaxvor stood frozen, his mind struggling to process what he had just heard. Around him, his crew stared at their screens in disbelief. The tactical display suddenly erupted with new contacts. Across Earth's surface, installations they had catalogued as primitive radar stations were transforming, unfolding, revealing themselves as advanced weapon platforms. Energy signatures blazed to life, energy signatures that matched Vrexian technology. Commander! The sensor officer shouted. Multiple launch signatures detected. Hundreds of craft are launching from concealed bases around the planet. They are using propulsion systems similar to our own. This is impossible. Oh, but it was not impossible. It was simply unexpected. The humans had been hiding their true capabilities, waiting for the right moment to reveal them. And that moment was now. Colonel Jinsu Nam stood in an underground hangar outside Seoul, watching as 30 pilots climbed into combat suits that looked like they belonged in a science fiction movie. These were not primitive spacesuits. They were advanced combat armor, built from a combination of reverse-engineered alien technology and human innovation. Behind the pilots stood their ships, sleek fighters built in secret factories, powered by engines that human scientists had learned to build by studying crashed alien probes. Each ship carried weapons that could punch through Vrexian shields. All pilots, this is Colonel Nam, he said over the communication channel. You have trained your entire lives for this mission. Today, we show the galaxy that Earth is not defenseless. Launch when ready. The fighters screamed out of hidden bases around the world, accelerating toward orbit. They were joined by larger ships, frigates, and destroyers that had been built in orbital shipyards, disguised as space stations. Humanity's secret fleet was finally revealed. Thaxvor watched in growing horror as his tactical display filled with red icons representing human ships. There were hundreds of them. His intelligence had been completely wrong. The humans were not primitive. They were not divided. They had been waiting. They had been preparing. And now, they were ready to fight. All ships, combat formation, Thaxvor ordered. Prepare to engage. The battle for Earth had begun. And for the first time in their history, the Vrexian Empire faced an enemy they had underestimated. The first human fighters reached orbit in less than 10 minutes. Their engines burned bright blue as they climbed out of Earth's atmosphere, accelerating faster than any human-made craft had ever moved before. Inside one of those fighters, Captain Minho Choi gripped his controls and watched his tactical display fill with target markers. "Red Squadron, form up on my position," he transmitted to his wingmates. "Remember your training. Stay in pairs. Cover each other. These aliens have better shields than we do, but our missiles are designed to punch through." Minho was 32 years old. He had been recruited into the secret defense program when he was 18, told only that he was training for a classified mission. For 14 years he had practiced in simulators, studied alien tactics, and prepared for an enemy he had never seen. Now that enemy was real, and they were right in front of him. The Vrexian ships were massive up close. Their smallest vessels were 3 times larger than the human fighters. Their capital ships were like flying cities, bristling with weapons and armored in metal that could withstand nuclear explosions. On paper, the Vrexians should have been able to destroy the human fleet easily, but paper does not account for determination. It does not account for decades of preparation. And it does not account for humans fighting to defend their only home. "All squadrons, weapons free," came the order from Unified Command. Minho locked onto the nearest Vrexian destroyer and fired. His missiles streaked across the void, guided by targeting systems that had been designed specifically to counter Vrexian electronic warfare. The aliens tried to shoot the missiles down, but they were faster and more maneuverable than Vrexian systems expected. 3 missiles slammed into the destroyer's shield, overloading it. The 4th missile punched through and detonated against the hull. The Vrexian ship lurched, atmosphere venting from the breach. It was not destroyed, but it was hurt. All around Earth's orbit, the same scene played out dozens of times. Human fighters swarmed the alien vessels like angry hornets, striking hard and fast before breaking away. "Red 3 is hit," someone shouted over the radio. "Shield failure. Ejecting now." Minho saw the damaged fighter tumble past him, its pilot ejecting in an escape pod. 2 other human ships immediately moved to cover the pod, driving off the Vrexian fighters that tried to pursue. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned, but they fought with coordination that surprised their enemies. Aboard the Vrexian flagship, Commander Thaxvor struggled to understand what was happening. His ships were taking damage. Actual damage. These primitives had weapons that could hurt Vrexian warships. It should have been impossible. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Where did they get this technology?" His science officer worked frantically at her console. "Commander, I have analyzed their weapons. The energy signatures match our own technology, but the designs are different. They have reverse-engineered our systems and improved them. Their missiles are faster than ours. Their targeting systems are more precise." Thaxvor felt something he had not felt in many years: fear. The Vrexian Empire had conquered 17 worlds by being technologically superior. But these humans had stolen that advantage. They had taken Vrexian technology and made it better. How long had they been preparing for this? "Focus fire on their larger ships," Thaxvor ordered. "Destroy their command vessels. Without leadership, they will fall into chaos." The Vrexian fleet adjusted its targeting, focusing its heavy weapons on the human destroyers and frigates. Several human ships took devastating hits, their shields collapsing under the sustained bombardment. One frigate exploded in a brilliant flash, taking its crew of 200 to their deaths. But the humans did not break. They did not fall into chaos. Instead, command smoothly transferred to other ships, and the battle continued without pause. Deep beneath the Swiss Alps, director Hana Kang watched the battle unfold on holographic displays. Every ship was represented, every weapon tracked. Data flowed in from hundreds of sources, painting a complete picture of the engagement. Around her, analysts called out updates in calm, professional voices. Frigate Incheon is lost. All hands presumed dead. Fighter Squadron Delta has expended all missiles, returning to base. Vrexian Destroyer Gamma 7 has shield failure, structural damage to stern section. Hana listened to it all, her face expressionless. Every death hurt. Every lost ship represented years of work and billions in resources. But she could not let emotion interfere with command decisions. Not now. Deploy the orbital defense platforms, she ordered. All of them. It is time to show the Vrexians what else we have been hiding. Around Earth, in carefully calculated positions, massive structures began to unfold. They had been disguised as old satellites and space debris, ignored by Vrexian scouts as harmless junk. Now they revealed their true nature. Railguns, particle beam cannons, and missile batteries powered up, their targeting systems locking on to Vrexian ships. The platforms opened fire simultaneously. Beams of coherent particles sliced through space at nearly the speed of light, slamming into Vrexian shields with tremendous energy. The shields held for a moment, then failed under the sustained assault. Railgun projectiles followed. Massive slugs of metal accelerated to incredible speeds, punching through armor like it was paper. A Vrexian cruiser took 3 particle beam hits in quick succession. Its shields collapsed, and railgun rounds tore through its hull. Secondary explosions rippled along its length. As internal systems failed, the massive ship began to drift, powerless and broken. Direct hit on enemy cruiser, an analyst reported. It is disabled but not destroyed. Crew appears to be abandoning ship. Hana nodded. Dispatch recovery teams to secure the wreck once the battle is over. I want that ship studied. 2. The tide of battle was turning. The Vrexians had expected an easy victory against a primitive world. Instead, they found themselves in a fight for survival against an enemy that had spent decades preparing for this exact moment. Human losses were heavy: over 40 fighters destroyed, 3 frigates lost, 1 destroyer severely damaged. But Vrexian losses were worse. They had lost 2 cruisers, 4 destroyers, and countless smaller vessels. Commander Thaxvor made a decision he had never made before in his military career. All ships, withdraw to Jupiter orbit. We need time to reassess. The Vrexian fleet began to pull back, their engines burning as they retreated from Earth's orbit. Human ships pursued for a time, harrying the fleeing aliens with long-range missiles. But they did not press too hard. Director Kang had ordered them to secure the orbital space around Earth, not to chase the enemy into deep space. As the Vrexians fled, Minho and his squadron circled back toward Earth. His fighter was scorched and battered, its shields barely functional. But he was alive. Around him, other pilots checked in, their voices tired but triumphant. Red Squadron, sound off. Red 2, intact. Red 4, took some hits but still flying. Red 5, systems green. Red 3 was gone. Red 6 had ejected and been recovered. Out of 8 fighters in his squadron, 6 remained combat capable. Across the entire human fleet, casualty reports were coming in. Over 800 dead. Thousands more wounded. But Earth still stood. The orbital defenses held. The Vrexians had been driven back. Minho guided his fighter toward the landing bay of an orbital station. His hands shook slightly as he released the controls. The adrenaline was wearing off, and the reality of what had just happened began to sink in. He had fought aliens, real aliens, And he had survived. When he climbed out of his cockpit, ground crew rushed forward to check his fighter for damage. One of them, a young woman named Unji Lee, gave him a thumbs up. Minho managed a weak smile. Just doing my job, but as he walked through the station corridors toward the debriefing room, he could not stop thinking about the pilots who had not returned. He had trained with some of them for years. They had been friends. Now they were gone, killed in humanity's first battle against an alien empire. The war had just begun, and Minho knew this was only the first round. The Vrexians would be back. They would not give up easily. But neither would humanity. In the operations center, Director Hana Kang addressed her staff. Well done, everyone. We have bought ourselves some time. The Vrexians know now that we are not an easy target, but this is far from over. They will regroup, call for reinforcements, and try again. We must be ready. She turned to her intelligence chief, a middle-aged man named Kwangsu Han. I want everything we can learn from that disabled cruiser. Technology, tactics, communications, protocols, everything. We need every advantage we can get. Kwangsu nodded. Recovery teams are already moving toward the wreck. We will begin analysis immediately. Hana looked at the main display, showing Earth hanging peacefully in space. From this distance, the planet looked serene and beautiful. It was hard to believe a battle had just been fought in its orbit. Hard to believe that hundreds of people had just died defending it. Prepare for the next phase, she said quietly. This was just the beginning. The captured Vrexian cruiser drifted in space, surrounded by human recovery ships. Inside, teams in protective suits moved carefully through the dark corridors, their helmet lights cutting through the shadows. The ship's power was dead, its crew evacuated. Now it belonged to Earth. Dr. Sun-hee Park led the science team through the alien vessel. She was 45 years old, with gray streaks in her black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. For 20 years, she had studied fragments of alien technology from crashed probes. Now she walked through an actual alien warship, and her mind raced with possibilities. This is incredible, she whispered into her radio. The manufacturing techniques alone will advance our materials science by decades. Behind her, Lieutenant Young-ho Kim kept his weapon ready. Stay focused, Doctor. We still do not know if this ship is completely empty. The Vrexians might have left surprises. They moved through what appeared to be a command center. Alien consoles lined the walls, their screens dark. Strange symbols covered keyboards designed for hands with too many fingers. Everything was built for beings larger than humans. The doorways were tall, the chairs oversized. Sun-hee approached a computer terminal and connected her portable interface. Her equipment began downloading data, pulling everything it could from the alien systems. Weapons, specifications, shield frequencies, communication codes, all of it flowing into human databases where analysts would spend months decoding it. I am getting incredible amounts of information, she reported. Ship logs, tactical databases, even personal files from the crew. This is exactly what we needed. While the science teams worked, military analysts back on Earth studied the battle recordings. Colonel Jinsu Nam sat in a conference room with other senior officers, watching holographic replays of the engagement. They studied every move the Vrexians made, looking for patterns and weaknesses. They rely heavily on their shields, observed Major Hee Jin-yoon. Once the shields fail, their hulls are actually quite vulnerable to our weapons, but their shields are very strong. It takes multiple hits to bring them down. Jinsu nodded. We need to focus fire. Concentrate our attacks on single targets until their shields fail. Then move to the next target. Do not spread our fire across multiple ships. Agreed, said another officer. We also need more fighters. We lost 40 in that engagement. At that rate, we will run out of craft before they run out of ships. Production is already increased, Jinsu replied. Factories around the world are working at maximum capacity. We will have 50 new fighters ready within a week. But you are right, we need more. We need to expand production even further. The discussion continued for hours. Every aspect of the battle was analyzed, every decision questioned, every outcome examined. The officers knew that the Vrexians would return, and when they did, humanity needed to be ready with better tactics and more resources. Far beyond Jupiter, the Vrexian fleet regrouped. Commander Thaxvor stood before his surviving officers, his posture tense and his voice hard. The retreat had been humiliating. In 17 conquests, the Vrexian Empire had never been forced to withdraw. Now, they had fled from a supposedly primitive species. "Explain to me," Thaxvor said coldly, "how a pre-contact civilization has technology that rivals our own. Explain to me how they speak our language. Explain to me how they knew we were coming. I were come. I were coming. I were come. I were come. I were come." His intelligence officer stepped forward nervously. "Commander, after analyzing the battle data, I believe the humans have been monitoring our communications for a significant period. They must have intercepted our signals and learned our language. As for their technology, they appear to have found and reverse-engineered some of our equipment, perhaps from lost probes or scout ships." "Impossible," Thaxvor snapped. "We account for all our vessels." "Not all, Commander. 3 probes went missing in this sector over the last 70 years. We assumed they were destroyed by asteroids or equipment failure. But if they crashed on Earth," Thaxvor felt rage building inside him. 3 probes. 3 pieces of Vrexian technology had fallen into human hands, and they had used them to build a defense fleet. The humans had taken decades to prepare. They had studied Vrexian tactics and weapons. They had been waiting. "This changes nothing," Thaxvor said firmly. "We are still stronger. We still have more ships. Send a message to Fleet Command. Request reinforcements. Tell them we face unexpected resistance. But Earth will fall. It must fall. The Empire does not accept defeat." The message was sent across interstellar space, traveling faster than light through quantum communication systems. It would reach Vrexian High Command in hours. Reinforcements would arrive in days. Commander Thaxvor settled in to wait, planning his next attack. But the message did not only reach Vrexian High Command. The humans, having cracked Vrexian communication codes from the captured cruiser, intercepted it. They knew reinforcements were coming. They knew they had only days to prepare. Director Hana Kang read the translated message in her office. Her face remained calm, but inside she felt the pressure mounting. The first battle had been difficult. The next one would be much worse. The Vrexians would come with more ships, better prepared, and very angry. "How many ships are they sending?" she asked her intelligence chief. Kwangsu Han looked grim. "At least 30 additional vessels, Commander, including 2 dreadnoughts, their largest class of warship. They will arrive in approximately 4 days." Hana did some quick calculations in her head. 4 days. They had 4 days to repair damaged ships, build new fighters, and prepare stronger defenses. 4 days to get ready for a battle that would likely be twice as intense as the first one. "Issue orders to all member nations," she said. "Every available resource goes to the war effort. Accelerate fighter production. Deploy additional orbital platforms. And I want every soldier, pilot, and crew member ready for combat. We are going to be outnumbered. We need to be smarter and faster." Around the world, humanity prepared for the second battle. Factories worked around the clock, building fighters and missiles. Shipyards in orbit completed repairs on damaged vessels. Pilots trained in simulators, practicing new tactics. And in secret facilities, scientists worked on new weapons, experimental systems that had not been ready for the first battle, but might be crucial for the second. Captain Minho Choi stood in a briefing room with the other surviving pilots from the first battle. A large screen showed diagrams of Vrexian dreadnoughts. Massive ships, covered in armor and weapons. Just looking at them made Minho nervous. "These are the biggest ships in the Vrexian fleet," the briefing officer explained. They carry more weapons than 10 of our frigates combined. Their shields can withstand sustained bombardment from our orbital platforms. Taking one down will require coordinated attacks from multiple squadrons. How are we supposed to fight something that big? Asked one pilot. The same way small fish kill sharks. The officer replied. We swarm them. We attack from multiple angles. We overwhelm their defenses with sheer numbers. It will be dangerous. Many of us will not survive. But we do not have a choice. If we lose this battle, Earth falls. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what was at stake. This was not just about military victory. This was about survival. If humanity lost, the Vrexians would harvest Earth's resources and enslave or destroy its population. There was no surrender option. There was only fight or die. Minho thought about his family back on Earth. His parents, his younger sister. They had no idea their son was a fighter pilot in a secret space force. They thought he worked for a private aerospace company. He had never been able to tell them the truth. Now he might die defending them, and they would never know. We can do this, he said suddenly, surprised by his own voice. We hurt them badly in the first fight. They were not expecting us to fight back. This time, they are expecting it. But we are ready too. We know their tactics now. We have their technology. We can win. Other pilots nodded. The briefing officer smiled slightly. That is the spirit, Captain. Now let us make sure you have every advantage we can give you. Over the next 4 days, Earth transformed into a fortress. More orbital platforms were deployed. Fighter squadrons practiced new formations. Ground-based missile systems were positioned to provide supporting fire. And scientists completed work on a new weapon, a massive railgun built into the moon itself, capable of firing projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. Dr. Sun-hee Park stood on the lunar surface, watching the final tests of the lunar cannon. The weapon was enormous, built into a crater on the moon's far side. It drew power from a fusion reactor buried deep underground and could fire tungsten projectiles weighing several tons. This will punch through any shield they have, she said to the engineers beside her. The kinetic energy alone is enough to crack a dreadnought in half, but we only get a few shots before it overheats. We need to make them count. The weapon's targeting computer linked directly to Earth's defense network. When the Vrexians arrived, the lunar cannon would be ready, aimed and waiting for the perfect shot. On the 4th day, long-range sensors detected the Vrexian reinforcement fleet entering the solar system. 32 ships, including 2 dreadnoughts. They came in fast, their engines burning as they accelerated toward Earth. In the operations center, alarms sounded. Director Hana Kang stood at her command station, surrounded by displays showing the approaching enemy fleet. Around her, hundreds of personnel prepared for battle. Communication channels filled with status reports as ships moved into position and weapons charged. All forces. This is Director Kang. She broadcast across all frequencies. The enemy has arrived. You know what we are fighting for. You know what we stand to lose. We showed them in the first battle that we are not prey. Now we show them that Earth is not for sale. All units. Engage when ready. Make every shot count. Good luck. We. The Vrexian fleet approached Earth's orbit, weapons armed and ready. Commander Thaxvor watched the human defense fleet deploy to meet them. There were more human ships than before they had been building, but 32 Vrexian warships, including 2 dreadnoughts, should be more than enough. All ships, advance, Thaxvor ordered. Destroy everything. The second battle for Earth began. The space around Earth erupted into chaos. Hundreds of missiles streaked through the void, their engines leaving bright trails. Particle beams cut through darkness, invisible except where they struck shields and created brilliant flashes. Explosions blossomed silently in the vacuum as ships died and fighters disintegrated under enemy fire. Captain Minho Choi pulled his fighter into a hard turn, evading plasma bolts from a Vrexian corvette. His wingmate, Lieutenant Ji-won Song, stayed close, covering his approach. Together, they dove toward the enemy ship, their weapons locked and ready. Fox 3, missiles away, Minho transmitted, launching 4 missiles in quick succession. The Vrexian corvette tried to shoot them down, its point defense systems tracking the incoming projectiles. It destroyed 2, but the other 2 slammed into its forward shield. The shield flickered, but held. Before it could recharge, Ji-won followed up with her own missile salvo. The shield collapsed, and the final missiles punched through, detonating against the corvette's hull. "That is 1 down," Ji-won said. "Only 31 more to go." All around them, human fighters swarmed the Vrexian fleet. The tactics had changed since the first battle. Instead of engaging the entire fleet at once, human forces focused their attacks on smaller groups of ships, overwhelming them with numbers before moving to the next target. It was working. Vrexian destroyers fell one by one, their shields battered down by coordinated strikes, but the dreadnoughts were another matter entirely. The 2 massive ships advanced slowly toward Earth, their countless weapons firing constantly. Human fighters that got too close were swatted from space like insects. Even the orbital defense platforms struggled to damage their incredibly powerful shields. Aboard one of the dreadnoughts, Commander Thaxvor watched his smaller ships fall. The humans were better organized this time, their tactics more refined. They had learned from the first battle, but it did not matter. The dreadnoughts alone carried enough firepower to crack a planet. "Focus the main cannons on the planet's surface," Thaxvor ordered. "Target their major cities. Let them watch their world burn. That will break their will to fight." The dreadnought's primary weapons began charging, building up massive amounts of energy. In 30 seconds, they would fire beams capable of vaporizing entire city blocks. The humans had minutes to stop it. In the Lunar Operations Center, Dr. Sun-hee Park saw the energy build up on her sensors. Her hands moved quickly across the control interface for the lunar cannon, targeting the lead dreadnought. The weapon's capacitors were fully charged, the firing solution calculated. She only had 1 shot. The cannon would need hours to cool down and recharge after firing. "Director Kang, the lunar cannon is ready," she reported over the communication channel. "Target locked on the lead dreadnought. Requesting permission to fire." "Permission granted," Hannah's voice came back immediately. "Take the shot, Doctor." Sun-hee pressed the firing control. Deep within the moon, electromagnetic coils activated in sequence, accelerating a 5-ton tungsten projectile to 12% of light speed. The projectile erupted from the lunar surface, crossing the distance to the dreadnought in less than 3 seconds. The Vrexian ship's shields flared brilliant white as the projectile struck. For a moment, the shields held. Then they failed catastrophically. Overloaded by the sheer kinetic energy, the tungsten slug continued through, punching completely through the dreadnought from bow to stern. The ship shuddered as internal explosions rippled through its length. Thaxvor was thrown from his command chair as his ship died around him. Emergency alarms shrieked. Atmosphere vented into space. Systems failed across all decks. The dreadnought began to break apart, its massive structure unable to withstand the damage. "Abandon ship," Thaxvor managed to order. "All crew, abandon ship immediately." Escape pods began launching from the dying dreadnought, carrying Vrexian crew to safety. But hundreds did not make it out. The ship broke into 3 large pieces, each tumbling slowly through space, trailing debris and atmosphere. The destruction of the lead dreadnought sent shock through the Vrexian fleet. Their most powerful ship had been killed with a single shot. What kind of weapon did these humans have? The second dreadnought immediately changed tactics, no longer advancing confidently toward Earth. Its captain ordered evasive maneuvers, trying to make his ship a harder target. But the human fleet pressed their advantage, sensing the Vrexians' fear. Colonel Jinsu Nam commanded the human frigate Busan, one of the largest ships in Earth's fleet. He watched the tactical display showing the second dreadnought trying to retreat, pulling back from Earth's orbit. "All frigates, form up on the Busan," he ordered. We are going after that dreadnought. Concentrate all fire on its aft shields. We are going to bring it down the hard way. 6 human frigates moved into formation, their engines burning as they pursued the retreating dreadnought. Behind them came dozens of fighters, ready to exploit any opening. The chase led away from Earth, out toward the orbit of Mars. The Vrexian dreadnought turned to fight, realizing it could not outrun its pursuers. Its weapons blazed, firing everything it had at the approaching human ships. The frigate Sol took a direct hit from a plasma cannon, its forward shield collapsing. Secondary explosions ripped through its bow section. "Sol is hit," came the report. "Heavy damage to forward sections. Shield generator offline. They are falling back. Maintain formation," Jinsu ordered. "All ships, fire on my mark. Target the aft shield generator. 3, 2, 1. Mark." 5 frigates fired simultaneously, their particle beam cannons focusing on a single point on the dreadnought's shields. The concentrated energy overloaded the shield generator, creating a gap in the dreadnought's defenses. Human fighters poured through the gap, launching missiles at the now exposed hull. The dreadnought's armor was thick, designed to withstand tremendous punishment, but it could not withstand dozens of missiles detonating against unshielded hull. The aft section began to buckle under the assault. One lucky missile found an engine intake and detonated inside the propulsion system. The resulting explosion tore through the engineering section, crippling the dreadnought's ability to maneuver or fight. "Target disabled," reported the tactical officer on the Busan. "It still has power, but it cannot move or fire effectively." Jinsu allowed himself a small smile. "Detach boarding teams. I want that ship secured. It will make an excellent prize for our scientists." While the space battle raged, another battle was unfolding on a different front. Deep in Earth's oceans, Vrexian submarines had been deployed during the confusion of the initial attack. They were attempting to surface near major cities to deploy ground forces, but Earth's underwater defense network had detected them. Commander Taehyun Shin piloted his submarine through the dark waters off the coast of South Korea. His vessel was not a traditional submarine. It was built using the same advanced technology as the space fighters, capable of incredible speed and depth. Around him, 5 other submarines formed a hunting pack, searching for the alien intruders. "Contact bearing 270. Depth 500 meters, reported his sonar operator, Lieutenant Minji Kwan. "Designating target Alpha. It is definitely Vrexian hull signature matches known profiles. All vessels, weapons free," Taehyun ordered. "Let us introduce them to Earth's oceans." The human submarines opened fire with torpedoes specifically designed to function in both water and space. The Vrexian submarine detected the incoming weapons and tried to evade, but the torpedoes were faster and more maneuverable. They struck in quick succession, their shaped charges punching through the alien hull. The Vrexian submarine imploded under the pressure of the deep ocean, crushed by millions of tons of water. Wreckage tumbled toward the ocean floor, carrying alien invaders to their deaths in Earth's depths. "Target destroyed," Minji reported. Searching for additional contacts, 2 more Vrexian submarines were detected and destroyed over the next hour. The aliens had assumed Earth's oceans would provide cover and surprise. They had not expected humanity to have anticipated underwater invasions and prepared accordingly. Back in space, the battle was turning decisively in humanity's favor. With both dreadnoughts eliminated, one destroyed, one captured the remaining Vrexian ships, faced overwhelming odds. Human forces outnumbered them now, and the tactical advantage was clear. One by one, Vrexian vessels began to surrender or flee the system. Commander Thaxvor floated in his escape pod, watching through the small viewport as his fleet disintegrated. 17 victories. The Vrexian Empire had conquered 17 worlds. Earth should have been the 18th. Instead, it had become the first defeat. His pod was recovered by a human frigate. When the airlock opened, he expected to be greeted by primitive warriors. Instead, he saw professional soldiers in advanced armor, their weapons ready but not threatening. They treated him as a prisoner of war, not as prey. He was brought before Director Hana Kang in a secure facility on Earth. She sat across from him in an interrogation room, her expression neutral, but her eyes sharp and intelligent. "Commander Thaxvor," she said in perfect Vrexian, "you came to harvest our world. Instead, we have defeated your fleet. Do you understand why?" Thaxvor remained silent, his pride wounded. "You underestimated us," Hana continued. "You assumed that because we were not united, we were weak. You assumed that because our technology seemed primitive, we were helpless. But you failed to understand something fundamental about humanity. We are survivors. We adapt, we learn. And when we face extinction, we become dangerous." She leaned forward slightly. 70 years ago, we detected your communications. We knew something was out there, and we knew it might not be friendly. So we prepared. We studied you. We learned your language. We reverse-engineered your technology and made it better. We did all of this while maintaining our normal lives, fighting our own wars, advancing our own civilization. Can you imagine the dedication that required? Thaxvor finally spoke. "You should not have been able to do this. You were divided. Pre-contact species are always divided." "We were divided," Hana agreed. "But we united against a common threat. That is what humans do. We fight each other. Yes, but when something threatens all of us, we put aside our differences and stand together. You taught us that lesson when we detected your signals. You showed us that we needed to be ready. And we were." She stood up. "Your fleet is destroyed or captured. Your invasion has failed. Now you have a choice. You can give us information about your empire, its locations, its fleets, its plans, or you can remain silent and hope your government negotiates for your release. What will it be?" Thaxvor looked at the human director, seeing in her eyes the same determination he had seen in the human pilots who had destroyed his fleet. These were not primitive beings to be harvested. They were warriors who had defeated the Vrexian Empire. And for the first time in his career, Thaxvor wondered if the Empire had made a mistake in its conquest philosophy. Perhaps there were species in the galaxy that were not prey at all. 3 months after the second battle, Earth had changed. The secret was out. The entire world now knew about the Vrexian Empire, about the hidden defense program, and about humanity's first war with an alien species. Cities that had lived in fear during the battles now celebrated their survival. But in government chambers and military command centers, leaders understood that the threat was far from over. Director Hana Kang stood before the United Nations General Assembly, addressing representatives from every nation on Earth. The auditorium was packed with diplomats, military officials, and journalists. Cameras broadcast her speech to billions of people around the world. For 70 years, a secret organization known as Unified Earth Defense has been preparing for this moment, she said, her voice calm and steady. We detected alien signals early in the 21st century. We found crashed alien technology and reverse-engineered it. We built ships, trained pilots, and prepared for an invasion we hoped would never come. When it did come, we were ready. She paused, looking across the assembly. But we cannot rest on this victory. The Vrexian Empire controls hundreds of worlds. They have thousands of ships. The fleet we destroyed was just a small task force. Now that we have bloodied their nose, they will come back with greater numbers. We must continue to prepare. We must continue to build. And most importantly, we must stay united. Applause filled the auditorium. The world had seen what unity could accomplish. Nations that had been enemies for decades had worked together to defend Earth. Old grudges seemed petty compared to the threat from the stars, but not everyone was celebrating. In the Vrexian capital world, thousands of light years from Earth, the Imperial Council gathered in emergency session, They listened to the report from the survivors of the Earth invasion with growing anger and disbelief. "Impossible," declared High Commander Vraxis, leader of the Vrexian military. "A pre-contact world cannot defeat our forces. There must have been outside assistance. Perhaps the Meldari Collective or the Quarian Alliance provided them with technology." "Our intelligence suggests otherwise," replied the intelligence director. "The humans appear to have developed their capabilities independently, using technology they salvaged from our own lost probes. They studied us for decades without our knowledge." The Imperial Council fell silent. The implications were disturbing. If one primitive world could prepare such an effective defense, what did that say about Vrexian intelligence gathering? How many other worlds might be preparing in secret? "We cannot allow this defeat to stand," Vraxis said firmly. "Earth must be conquered. If we show weakness, other subject worlds will rebel. We must send a full battle fleet, 500 ships, including 10 dreadnoughts. We will crush Earth completely and use it as an example to the rest of the galaxy." The vote was unanimous. Earth would face another invasion, this time by a force 10 times larger than before. The assembly of ships would take 6 months to organize and move into position. Then Earth would face its greatest test. Back on Earth, intelligence teams analyzing captured Vrexian communications intercepted the order for the massive fleet. Director Kang read the translated document in her office. Her face grave. 6 months. They had 6 months to prepare for an invasion force that would dwarf anything they had faced before. 500 ships, she said quietly to her senior staff. "We have defeated 30. How do we fight 500? Colonel Jinsu Nam spoke up. "We cannot win through direct combat. Not against those numbers. We need a different strategy." "What do you suggest?" Hana asked. "Allies," Jinsu replied. Commander Thaxvor mentioned other civilizations, the Meldari Collective, the Quarian Alliance. "The Vrexians have enemies. We need to find them and convince them to help us." Dr. Sun Hee Park nodded in agreement. "I have been studying the captured Vrexian databases. The Empire has made many enemies. Several civilizations have been conquered, but maintain resistance movements. Others have fought the Vrexians to a stalemate. If we could contact them, form some kind of alliance." Hana considered the proposal. It was risky. Reaching out to alien civilizations meant revealing Earth's location to potentially hostile powers. But the alternative was facing the Vrexian invasion fleet alone, which meant certain defeat. "Do it," she ordered. "Use the captured ships. Send diplomatic missions to these other civilizations. Tell them that a new power has emerged that successfully defeated the Vrexians. See if they are interested in talking." Over the next weeks, 3 captured Vrexian ships were repaired and crewed by human teams. Each ship was sent in a different direction, toward civilizations identified in the captured databases. The crews were trained diplomats, scientists, and soldiers, the best humanity had to offer. Their mission was to make first contact with alien civilizations and negotiate for help. Captain Minho Choi volunteered to lead one of these missions. After the battles, he had been promoted and decorated for his actions. But he was not content to sit and wait for the next invasion. He wanted to do something proactive. His ship, renamed the Endeavor, traveled for 3 weeks at faster-than-light speeds before reaching the territory of the Quarian Alliance. The Quarians were a species of aquatic beings who lived on ocean worlds. They had fought the Vrexians 50 years ago and achieved a costly peace treaty. According to the databases, they had no love for the Empire. When the Endeavor dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a Quarian world, they were immediately surrounded by patrol ships. Minho activated the communication system, speaking in Quarian, a language he had spent the last 3 weeks learning from the captured databases. "This is Captain Minho Choi of Earth. We come in peace. We wish to speak with your government about a common enemy, the Vrexian Empire. These not Quatri. We come in pieces and Minho Choi." There was a long pause. Then a response came back. the translator rendering the aquatic sounds into words Minho could understand. Earth, we have no records of your civilization. State your business and intent. We are a newly contacted species, Minho explained. The Vrexians attempted to invade our world 3 months ago. We defeated them. They are now preparing a larger fleet to return. We seek allies who understand the threat the Empire poses to all free civilizations. Another pause. Then, you defeated a Vrexian invasion fleet? This seems unlikely. Provide proof. Minho transmitted battle footage from the engagements, showing human ships destroying Vrexian vessels. He also transmitted documentation taken from captured ships, proving that the Vrexians had indeed lost a significant force at Earth. The Quarian response was immediate. Your request for diplomatic contact is approved. You are granted permission to approach our capital world. We are very interested in speaking with you. Well, similar scenes played out at other alien civilizations. The Meldari Collective, a species of crystalline beings, greeted the human diplomats with cautious interest. The Torgan Federation, a coalition of small worlds, saw an opportunity to weaken their Vrexian overlords. Within 2 months, Earth had established diplomatic relationships with 6 alien civilizations. None of them promised military support. They were not willing to go to war against the Empire, but they offered technology, intelligence, and resources. They taught humans about galactic politics, about other threats besides the Vrexians, and about technologies far beyond what Earth had reverse-engineered. Dr. Sun-hee Park worked with alien scientists, learning about energy systems and materials that existed only in theory to human physicists. The knowledge exchange accelerated Earth's technological advancement by decades. New weapons were designed. New ships were built using alien blueprints, combined with human innovation. But perhaps the most significant development came from an unexpected source. The Torgan Federation revealed that many worlds conquered by the Vrexians maintained secret resistance movements. These rebels lacked the strength to fight openly but conducted sabotage and intelligence gathering. Earth began secretly supplying these resistance movements with weapons and communication equipment. A network emerged, a coalition of species opposed to Vrexian dominance. Earth sat at the center of this network, not as conquerors, but as coordinators. Humans had shown that the Empire could be beaten. Now they were spreading that knowledge and hope to others. 6 months after the second battle, the Vrexian invasion fleet arrived at Earth's solar system. 500 ships, the largest force ever assembled by the Empire. Commander Vraxis himself led the fleet, determined to crush Earth completely. But what he found was not the vulnerable world his intelligence had described. Earth's orbit was ringed with defensive platforms, hundreds of them. Built with assistance from alien allies, the human fleet had tripled in size. And most surprisingly, ships from 6 other civilizations sat alongside human vessels, not as military support, but as observers. This is Commander Vraxis of the Vrexian Empire. He broadcast toward Earth. You have committed acts of war against the Empire. You have destroyed our ships and killed our personnel. We demand unconditional surrender. Refuse, and your world will be destroyed. Director Hana Kang responded. Her message broadcast not just to the Vrexian fleet, but to every civilization monitoring the situation, which was most of the known galaxy. This is Director Hana Kang of the Unified Earth Defense. Commander Vraxis, you are correct that we have destroyed your ships. We did so in self-defense when you attempted to invade our world without provocation. We will not surrender to an empire built on conquest and exploitation. However, we do not wish further bloodshed. Withdraw your fleet, and we will allow you to leave peacefully. Continue this attack, and you will learn that Earth has made many new friends. It was a bluff, partially. The alien ships in Earth's orbit were observers, not combatants. But Vraxis did not know that. He saw dozens of ships from civilizations that the Empire had considered neutral or even intimidated. Their presence suggested a coalition forming against Vrexian interests. More importantly, the entire galaxy was watching. News of the standoff had spread through interstellar communication networks. Hundreds of civilizations observed to see what would happen. If Vraxis attacked and lost, the Empire would look weak. If he attacked and won at great cost, the Empire would look vulnerable. But if he withdrew, "This is not over," Vraxis finally responded. "The Empire will return." The Vrexian fleet turned and departed. They did not attack. The bluff had worked, at least for now. But everyone knew Vraxis spoke truth. This was not over. In the operations center, Hana allowed herself a moment of relief. They had bought more time. Time to build more ships, strengthen more alliances, and prepare for whatever came next. Earth was no longer alone in the galaxy. It had proven its strength and found its allies. Captain Minho Choi stood on the observation deck of the Endeavour, watching Earth through the viewport. The planet looked peaceful from orbit, unchanged by the struggles fought to protect it. But everything had changed. Humanity was now part of a larger community, connected to civilizations across the galaxy. His communication device buzzed. A message from his family, his parents, and sister had finally learned what he really did. They were proud, they said. They were grateful. They loved him. Minho smiled. This was what they had fought for. Not just survival, but the right to determine their own future. The Vrexians had come to harvest Earth, to treat humanity as prey. Instead, they had awakened something they never expected. A species that refused to be conquered, that could adapt and survive, that could unite in the face of extinction. Earth had been next on their list, but that list had ended here. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity was just beginning to explore what it could become among the stars.